Hi everyone. This section will introduce how players act in a given competitive situation in the context of the chicken game and prisoner's dilemma. The reason why I introduce game theories to you is that with these theories, current inter-Korean relations can be explained better. So the goal of this section is to help the students understand how rational choice is made in a given competitive situation. Now, let me define the game theory. What is game theory? Game theory deals with the optional actions taken by individual, one person, or group in a competitive situation. And mostly mathematical methodology is used. But in this section, I'm not going to use any mathematical methodology. In other words, game theory is a decision-making theory. It explains how to make a most effective and rational policy in a given situation. So both Koreans in the very competitive situation try to make very effective and rational policies in this very competitive situation. And there are some rules of the game, and let me introduce one by one. The first rule is that there must be at least 2 or more players. In order to have a game, the players must be multiple, right? 2 or more players. And they have conflicts of interests. When I say conflicts of interest, it does not mean too much of the conflicts or war or something like that. Conflict of interest simply means you have different interests. When you have a poker with your friend, we have certainly conflicts of interest because you want to win the money and your friend, he wants to win the money too. There's a conflict of interest. So there must be 2 or more players and they have conflicts of interest. Second rule of the game is that each player should have multiple alternatives to take. So this is a strategic game where the other's action directly affect my course of action. When you play poker, you have some cards on your hand, right? So you have multiple choices to take. Either you drop one card, but which card you drop it? Or keep them, or drop one card and get another card from the dealer. You have many alternatives to take. And also it's a strategic game because the other's action and your action directly affects my or his action. So this is the second rule of the game. And third rule of game is that each player must select one strategy at a time. One strategy at a time. So when you play poker, you take one strategy. Keep all these cards or drop one and get another one from the dealer. Or you play scissors, rocks, and handkerchiefs. You should choose either one. Scissors or rocks or handkerchiefs. One strategy at a time. And the last rules of the game is that each player receives a given payoff, results, along with the strategy that he takes. After you take one alternative, and you take the payoff out of that action. So examples of game theory is playing cards, poker, or playing scissors, rocks, and handkerchiefs. Let me give you a tip when you play scissors, rocks, and handkerchiefs. Basically, this game is a war game. But in act of war, the rocks is a best tool to defeat your enemy. So when you play this game, you might use rocks in the first action. So you know that your enemy will give rocks, and then you put handkerchiefs. So your enemy knows that you will put handkerchiefs, so enemy uses scissors. So according to a statistics by a weird mathematicians, when you play this game, if you put scissors, chances are 51% of winning. So when you have scissors, rocks, and handkerchief, play with your friend or friends, use the scissors. And then you have a chance of winning 51%. 51%. But what if your friend knows that you're going to play scissors? I don't know. But anyway, so 51% of chance of winning if you play scissors as a first action.